Welcome to the unsustainable rental crisis spreading across Canada. Rental costs have skyrocketed to record highs, creating a harsh reality for both urban denizens and suburban dwellers alike. And this crisis isn't confined to the bustling metropolises of Toronto and Vancouver. Even tranquil suburbs are feeling the heat, with rental prices shooting through the roof. But what's driving this relentless rise in rental rates? It's a perfect storm of soaring house prices, rising interest rates, and government policies. The escalating interest rates in particular have resulted in heftier monthly mortgage payments for landlords. And guess who's bearing the brunt of these increased costs? That's right, the tenants. The roots of this crisis run deep. For decades, Canada has been underbuilding rental apartments, creating a severe housing shortage that's only worsened over time. A shift from purpose-built rental properties to condo investments has further exacerbated the situation, turning the rental crisis into a full-blown catastrophe. And let's not forget about Canada's population growth, driven by immigration and an influx of students. This growth has outpaced the construction of new housing, leading to alarming levels of homelessness and overcrowding. Addressing this crisis is no small feat. It demands significant policy changes, including reinstating rent controls and reducing developer charges. But these are just the tip of the iceberg. Tackling the housing crisis in Canada is a complex challenge that will require substantial efforts from the government and sweeping policy changes. So where do we go from here? How can we create a sustainable rental market that caters to the needs of all Canadians? These are the questions that we need to answer, and quickly, because time is running out. This is not a hypothetical situation. This is the reality of the rental crisis in Canada. You might be asking, how did we get here? The answer is multifaceted. Firstly, let's talk about the skyrocketing house prices. It's no secret that the cost of owning a home in Canada has soared in recent years. This escalation has made homeownership an elusive dream for many, driving them towards the rental market. As demand for rental properties increases, so do the rental rates. It's the classic supply-demand predicament. Rising interest rates have also played a significant role. As interest rates climb, landlords are faced with higher monthly mortgage payments. The natural response, they pass on the cost to their tenants, leading to higher rents. Government policies have had their share of influence too. For decades, Canada has been underbuilding rental apartments. This has resulted in a severe housing shortage, further intensifying the competition for rental properties and driving up the prices. Simultaneously, a shift from purpose-built rental properties to condo investments has exacerbated the situation. But it isn't just about what's been built or not built. It's also about who's moving in. Canada's population growth, fueled by immigration and an influx of students, has outpaced the construction of new housing. This imbalance has led to overcrowding, with more people competing for fewer rental spaces and, in some cases, even homelessness. The rental crisis in Canada isn't the result of a single factor. It's a culmination of soaring house prices, rising interest rates, and government policies that haven't kept pace with the country's growing housing needs. It's also about changes in the property market, with a shift towards condo investments and away from purpose-built rentals. And let's not forget the population growth that's outstripped the rate of new housing construction. All these factors have come together, like pieces of a complex puzzle, to create the rental crisis we see today. We can't point a finger at one cause and say, that's it. It's a combination of circumstances, a perfect storm, if you will, that has led to this crisis. It's a perfect storm of circumstances that has led to this crisis. So, what are the consequences of this rental crisis? Well, folks, let's dive into the nitty-gritty. Canada's population growth, largely driven by immigration and an influx of students, has significantly outpaced the construction of new housing. This imbalance has led to a severe housing shortage, a consequence that's much more than just an economic hiccup. We're seeing a rise in homelessness across the country. It's not just those traditionally vulnerable to homelessness who are affected. More and more people who were once securely housed are now finding themselves without a roof over their heads. This isn't a problem we can sweep under the rug. It's a human crisis happening right in front of our eyes, but it's not just about those who are completely without housing. Overcrowding is another major consequence of this rental crisis. Families are squeezing into smaller spaces, students are doubling up in dorm rooms, and individuals are resorting to shared living arrangements far from ideal. The stress of living in such cramped conditions impacts mental health, family dynamics, and overall quality of life. This isn't just about having a place to sleep. It's about the ability to have a safe, secure place to call home. It's about being able to provide a stable environment for children to grow up in. It's about having enough room to live, not just exist. The rental crisis is also causing a shift in demographics. Urban centers, once bustling with a diverse range of incomes and professions, are slowly becoming enclaves for the wealthy as lower-income individuals are priced out. This lack of diversity can stifle innovation and community growth. Moreover, the rental crisis is putting a strain on social services. More people are turning to government assistance to keep a roof over their heads. This increases the burden on taxpayers and diverts funds from other crucial areas like education and healthcare. In short, the consequences of the rental crisis are far-reaching and affecting the very fabric of Canadian society. It's not just an economic issue, it's a social issue, a human issue, and a challenge that needs immediate attention. The situation may seem bleak, but there are potential solutions on the horizon. So let's dive into some of the policy changes that could help alleviate the rental crisis in Canada. Firstly, reinstating rent controls could be an effective measure. Rent controls limit the amount by which landlords can increase rent annually, which can prevent sudden and unaffordable hikes for tenants. However, this solution isn't without its critics. Some argue that rent controls discourage property investment and maintenance. Yet, when balanced with other policy measures, it could help make rents more manageable for Canadians. Another potential solution is reducing developer charges. Right now, heavy development fees can discourage the creation of new rental properties. If these charges were reduced, it could incentivize developers to build more rental units, increasing supply and potentially easing rental rates. Additionally, shifting the focus back to purpose-built rental properties could be an effective measure. For the past few decades, there's been a trend towards condo investments rather than rental properties. If this trend was reversed, it could increase the supply of rental units and provide more affordable options for tenants. The government could also consider implementing policies that encourage the construction of affordable housing. This could range from providing tax incentives for developers who build affordable units to direct government investment in public housing. And let's not forget about interest rates. While the government doesn't directly control these, it does have some influence. Policies that help to stabilize interest rates could prevent sudden spikes in mortgage payments, which often get passed on to tenants. Finally, addressing the housing shortage will require a comprehensive and long-term plan. This might include changes in zoning laws to allow for more dense housing, investing in infrastructure to support growing communities, and ensuring that population growth, particularly through immigration and student influx, is matched with adequate housing construction. Addressing the rental crisis requires significant policy changes, but it's not an impossible task. With the right measures in place, Canada can work towards a sustainable and affordable housing market for all. The rental crisis is not just a problem for tenants, it's a problem for all Canadians. It's more than just numbers on a page or statistics in a report. It's about real people, families, and communities grappling with the harsh reality of a market that has spiraled out of control. It's about the fabric of our society where everyone should have the right to a safe, affordable place to call home. The rental crisis in Canada is a complex beast, but it's not invincible. It requires collective effort, a nationwide determination to dismantle it brick by brick, policy by policy, and this is where you come in. Your voice matters. Your vote matters. The power to instigate change is right there in your hands. It's about using that power to make a difference, to challenge the status quo, to advocate for policies that prioritize affordable housing. It's about getting involved in your local communities, engaging with neighborhood associations, tenants' unions, and housing advocacy groups. It's about taking a stand, making your voice heard loud and clear. It's about voting, not just for the sake of voting, but for casting your ballot for representatives who understand the gravity of the situation, who prioritize affordable housing, who are committed to making a difference. But it's not just about policy changes. It's about shifting our mindset, our perspective towards housing. Housing should not be a luxury, a privilege for the few. It should be a right, accessible to all. And it's about spreading awareness, about educating others on the rental crisis, about initiating conversations, fostering discussions, sparking debates. It's about understanding that the rental crisis is not an isolated problem, but a national issue that affects us all. directly or indirectly. The road to change is long and arduous, but it's not impossible. It requires persistence, determination, and most importantly, it requires us, all of us, working together, standing united in our fight against the rental crisis. So let's roll up our sleeves, let's get to work. Because we are not just bystanders in this narrative, we are the protagonists, the agents of change. Together, we can make a difference and help to solve the rental crisis in Canada.